Mr. Julius was saying, I'll repeat. The Vancouver Principles are a set of political commitments focused on child protection and peacekeeping. 17 principles to be exact. I will ask this question later to see if you were really paying attention, okay? Are we here today? I want to hear from this side, and I want to hear from the other side as well. Are we here on this side? Okay, can we say 0 child soldiers? There we go. 0 child soldiers over here? Child soldiers, okay. So 17 principles that focus on the prevention and the recruitment of youth of child soldiers by armed forces and armed groups. This conversation will include 2 people. One will be getting interviewed and the other will be moderating. Please help me welcome the guest, Lieutenant Colonel Mike Julier, Canadian Defense Attaché to South Sudan, and moderator of the interview, Mr. Julius Egbayemi, Head of Mission. I'm calling you back again to the stage. You're most welcome. If I can have Seniors Hub, please bring in the setup. Also, if I can have the podium be removed from the stage, that will be great. Both of you are most welcome on the stage.
Testing. It works. Well, I guess I can start off by introducing myself. Lieutenant Colonel Mike Juillet. It's July in French. Tough one to pronounce for Anglophones, but if it's some Francophones there, you probably can pronounce that one correctly. So yeah, it's really an honor to be here. I'm a non-resident defense attaché, unfortunately. I work out of Addis, but I also work with the African Union, Djibouti, and South Sudan. My second visit so far since becoming the new attaché last summer, and I've come full circle. So I was a previous peacekeeper here in 2006. I was a military observer out of Juba, and I also I organized the ceasefire committee meetings with the force commander. So I got a real good chance to see most of the country. So
we have
thanks.
to sit down.
We got to sit down. Okay. I wasn't sure about this foreign map here. Yeah, that said, I've come full circle, so it's really cool to come back as a defense attaché, quite honestly. And it's when I was a young captain here in 2006, the country left an impression on me, and it's something I've took with me leaving the country ever since I joined the military. So now it's over 22 years now. But it's really an honor to come back and help push things forward. So, yeah, I guess we got a video after this too, right, sir? Did you have questions for me, or I can continue. Show of hands. So before this event, who actually knew about the Vancouver Principles? Nobody? No one on that side?
Show of hands.
Who knew about Vancouver Principles? Hands up.
Only one person?
I only see a couple of hands. Well, you know what? I'm not surprised, because big deal, right? Vancouver Principles, why are they so important? Well, I'll tell you. So yeah, most people think we have very well developed child protection laws that have evolved over the decades with our numerous peacekeeping missions since the 50s, right? Well, listen, these principles are they're standards. They're actually applicable standards, and they're really the pinnacle of the evolution of all the child protection laws, and these are implementable. Best practices, as our host had mentioned, 17 principles that they didn't come out of nowhere. This came out of the blood, sweat, and tears of the last 7 years of peacekeeping, okay? There's been a lot of research. We partnered with the Dallaire Institute, and we looked at 7 years worth of peacekeeping research. So this is kind of distilled from this research. We've developed these 17 principles. And you know what, yeah, 100 countries, that's nice, but you know what, that's only half the world. We got a lot more work, and I need everyone here to help us promote this. And this is going to be my #1 priority here as a defense attaché, quite honestly. Anyway, I'll stop there. Over to you, sir.
So over 100 countries have signed onto the Vancouver Principles. And I can tell you that Uganda, Kenya, even Sudan have signed on to it. So keep those numbers. How many countries? How many countries?
I think 105 last time I read. But I got my work cut out for me, sir, because I got to work with South Sudan, Ethiopia. The African Union also doesn't quite have a standardized package for developing its soldiers to go on AU peacekeeping missions, which will be the future, right? If anyone knows about the African Union 2063 vision, Africa is going to take over all these missions and look after their own issues, right? There won't be UN here in Africa. We'll be advisors at this point. You know, this is so. Anyhow, yeah, I got some work ahead of me. But questions or comments on the Vancouver Principles?
We want to make this a bit interactive. Don't be shy. Questions for Lieutenant Colonel? Anyone?
We had a quiet audience here. I know we're in between the Emmanuel Jal performance, right? So
you're all waiting to hear the music. It's coming.
But I definitely, if anyone wants to work in the future with me on this, I'm all ears. This is going to be my #1 priority for the next 3 years while I'm the defense attaché for Canada here. I'm looking forward to working with anybody who wants to further these principles, operationalize them, you name it. So there you go. The invitation's sent out there to everybody here. So and thanks to everyone for making it out here.
Thank you.
If I can ask, maybe you can let us know how effective the principles have been so far and what you're hoping to achieve with them moving forward.
It's a really good question. I know nationally, I've looked at some of the stats, we are trending worldwide down, but there are pockets of countries that have trended up. But I think in general, it has been, we are trending down, and I think the principles have certainly assisted forces that are having to tackle these and prevent these issues head on in various peacekeeping operations around the world, not just UN, AU, but other regional blocks of countries that are doing coalitions of the willing peacekeeping. They're using these principles, from what I understand. And it's a good question. I'll take that back as well. As part of the Canadian Centre that we established in Kingston, we do a lot of research and analysis on the principles and effectiveness. And I can follow that up with a more concrete answer. And
even in South Sudan, the trend is going down nationally. And I think that's good news that we should be very proud of. There are pockets where it seems to go up and down, but overall, the numbers are going down. So really, really happy to hear that.
Just one more question. What do you think as a country we can do? We have a lot of youth here, which is your target audience as well. How do you think we can get to 0 child soldiers? How can we help? What also South Sudan as a country can do? We have a lot of government officials here that maybe can take this forward to where it can be implemented somehow, somewhere. So any advice that you can give?
Wow, complex question. There's complex issues in South Sudan, and I think it's a multi-factored solution, that's for sure. You need to combat this at all levels, right? You need to come at this with education, with the economy, with a lot of good promotion, a lot of good positive media events like this. This helps just getting the word out. A lot of people don't even know what they are, right? So we saw this, there weren't a lot of hands up. So I think a lot of outreach would help. So and it's good, we already have UN mission here that has soldiers on the ground that have been trained using the principles, because the UN has wholeheartedly taken these on. So anyone who's come through would have received some of this specialized training. So yeah, I mean, if you have any experts in the room too, please chime in. Happy to hear.
And one thing that the embassy is also doing is encouraging the government of South Sudan sign onto the Vancouver Principles. I think that would be a very good way to start. And I don't think it's controversial. So we would encourage government officials here today to take that and see how we can help, how the embassy can help the government to sign on to the principles. I think that would be a good way to start.
Any other questions from the audience? Any questions? Thank you so much to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the insight. We have another address coming up, but I think maybe we a little bit of art, poetry, something. What do you think? Right? Right? Okay. That being said, that has such a big voice, such a loud voice, heard by anyone, anywhere, so relatable. Her poetry has been so amazingly relatable. An athlete and a feminist, the most controversial word in South Sudan. Please give me welcome, incredible Tata Diko. You're most welcome.
Whew. It's an honor to be here this afternoon, most especially to be on this stage. And before I share my piece, chorus to a song that gave so much hope to my father, the many years he spent in exile until he died. And it gave me as well so much hope, the many times and status. And I believe it's a song that most of our fallen heroines and heroes sang, and most of the South Sudan. Yei belet na kul na ikwat, junubi belet na yei belet na wakul na ikwat, junub de belet na yei. Junub Sudan belit now. I didn't choose which body my son. miss you. I constantly find myself walking around, hoping that maybe you'd come around. Humanity, I cannot save your face. You cannot save her face. Her face can only be saved by we together. We put aside our differences and make known the impossible to possible. For division has not been the mission, but to feel proud when she has to face the mirror, like the beautiful coloring of the mural painting every heart, our hearts with colors of love. For it is us to uphold our responsibility to the unborn generation. We shall unite, and together we restore her once upon time beauty and honor. Humanity, you taught me to love me and to love her, it as me. Goodbye.
I think another round of applause. It's not just what she says, it's how she says it. We feel it. Thank you so much, Tata, for being so vulnerable and sharing with us that poem. I'd like to invite another favorite, a poet, an author, and a peace builder. Please help me welcome one of my personal favorites, Minangano Kape. Please come up here. You are most welcome.
Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you. So my name is Minangano. It's creating it without telling you briefly what the story was. So the poem is called Colors, and it is a piece that I wrote in 2018. In 2018, a friend approached me and gave me a collection of artwork that was drawn by young South Sudanese children who fled the conflict, and they found themselves in a refugee camps in the one of the East African countries. So these are children who, some of them fled with their families, and some of them were child soldiers, and they managed to leave the different groupings that they were part of. And so that friend of mine is using art therapy as a tool to try to help these children to deal with the trauma that they're facing. So there was a collection of paintings, and when you look at the artwork that they have produced, you will see guns, children holding guns, houses burning. But one beautiful scene from the drawings caught my attention. There was a child with a school bag. So to me, those paintings, it does not only represent pain and hopelessness, but it represents a lot of hope. And I told that friend that no amount of poetry, no language, no words can be enough to translate the feelings and the emotions that these kids have put into the paper. So when I try to translate the drawings into poetry, I'm just saying this is me showing solidarity, but I can never be able to understand the pain and the trauma that they have gone through. So, because I told my friend, whenever I get to perform this poem, I have to tell the story, because this is their story. So, colors. Painted in colors, each line portrays a story. Each hue reminds me of the night of walking beneath the moonless skies, our prayers for the moon not to shine. Once upon a time, her light was a warble of gala, a sign for the fable's time. We dance underneath her shadows, singing beautiful songs like Gamarata la Jadid, oh yeah, Gamarata la jadid. Oye, Gamarata la jadid. Oye. The new moon is out, the new moon has come. But that was when the moon was still our friend. That night of running, Mommy asked us to pray for the moon not to show her light. We prayed for the moon not to open her white, milky eyes. On our knees, we begged the moon not to open her white, milky eyes because she said the moon, her light would betray us. Then I couldn't understand how something you consider yours betray you. But now I do. Our own village betrayed us when it sacrificed our people. It started with my dad first. Our neighbor's family line was cleaned, blurred, frail. This painting is a reminder of the thunder that spewed without rain, without clouds, a reminder of the rain of fire that burned my grandmother's heart without a stick of a matchbox, a reminder of the rain of fire that burned my grandmother's heart without a stick of a matchbox. This painting is a promise of tomorrow bellowing deep inside, a promise of tomorrow excavating the earth it is flowering. This painting is a promise of tomorrow. This painting is a promise of tomorrow wrapped in our wrapped cloth, a promise of tomorrow rinsed by our agonies and sorrow. This painting is a reminder that the future is bright. This painting is a reminder that the dark clouds will bring rain, because my mama always said that the dusky clouds will always bring rains and abundance of grains. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tula. Another round of applause for her, please. Many stories of child soldiers haven't been told because they did not survive. Others have found recovery, even a pathway to success. I'd like to welcome Engineer Benjamin Mawel, President and CEO of Liberty Engineering, also former child soldier who has overcome and is here with us to share it all. You are most welcome. I can see Mr. Julius is really coming for my job. He's doing all of the interviews today. So he will be interviewing Mr. Engineer Benjamin. You're most welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon once again. My name is Julius Egbeyemi, and I'm here with Engineer Benjamin Mawel, CEO and President of Liberty Engineering right here in South Sudan.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask the first question, Engineer Benjamin. If you can tell us a bit about your story and how you came to be recruited as a child soldier.
Thank you, Ambassador Julius. My name is Benjamin Mawel. A very long name, South Sudanese name is Benjamin Maniel Majok Mawel. But in my professional network, I'm known Ben Mawel, a short form. I am a former child soldier. I would not say that I was recruited. I actually volunteered to be one of the soldiers. Between 1982 to 1984, when I was in the village, at that time, I was about 11 years old. Where I was, I think Honorable will know, I'm from Twitch, just south of Abia. At that time, our region was a wild, wild west, basically. Most people from northern Abia, especially Arab color, they used to come to our village. They raid every single cattle that we had. And I was very, very young then. A lot of young people were around. Every week, what we do is just running around. There was no school. We did not have schools. We did not have guns to protect ourselves. Our parents were hopeless. And then at the late 1982, close to 1983, I think was either in January or December 1982, that a guy was called Pagat Agwek. I think some people will remember. Pagat was a soldier in Sudan garrison, military garrison in BA. When he saw what was going on with the civilian, he decided to mountaineer. He left the garrison one night with 3 soldiers. One of the soldiers was a brother of Bonamol Ring, Malal Madud. His name was Ring Madud. And they broke away from that garrison and they formed a group called Anyanya One. At that time, we had a lot of Anyanya One pockets everywhere. In Awil, we had some. In Tony, we had General Bol Madud. And then in Abia, Pagat came up and formed that. So at least can provide a protection between civilian and the Arab color. We didn't have guns then. But then when we saw that, the Pagat came up, all of us were young people, some of them 10, younger than me, and older than us. We joined the struggle. And all of us, we tried to learn basic military training in the bush, just running around. Until July of 1983, when that time SPLA and SPLM was formed after Major Carbino Kwanyin shot the first bullet in Bor. We got a message that you can go to Ethiopia and get a military training with quality, and then get a gun, and you can come with your gun and you protect your own family and properties. So all of us, we volunteered to go to Ethiopia. And then when we left, I don't remember, if I recall really well, I think we left in September. In September 1983, that when we left to Ethiopia. And that time when we arrived in Ethiopia, I think November, at the end of November. Unfortunately, when we arrived, there was disagreement between Akwadatem, Gaitut, Carbino, John Garang, and William Yuan. So the fighting broke out in Yitang. And as we were coming, Akwadatem and Gaitut were retreating from Yitang. So we fell in the ambush before we reached Yitang, the refugees camp. Some of us died in that ambush, and most of us, we had to run back to Barkazal, crossing River Nile second time. So as soon as we arrived in Barkazal, that was almost, I think was first week of February. We find a new formation. Makol Deng Majok with his brother, General Piang, that is here now. They formed a team also that were protecting civilians. And as soon as we came in, it was organized that everybody goes back to Ethiopia, because right now, even the grown-up were volunteering. Everybody was volunteering in the village because we did not have a means to protect ourselves. So we had to leave, and we left in April. That April, we walked back to Ethiopia. At this time, was a bit organized because we had a little bit more guns that we got from Awil, and we were able to protect ourselves. So we arrived in Ethiopia, a place called Thiajak, and we found Dr. John Garang waiting for us. We were a big force, around close to 25,000 people. At that time, called Mormor. When we got there in Yitang, all of us were really young. Most that I would say 30% of us were young, very young. So Dr. John said clearly, these children cannot go to refugees camp. We were taken to a place called Bill Farm that was a headquarters in Ethiopia that the Ethiopian government gave it to us to organize our movement. So we went there. We waited until Corium was a division that went up before us, graduated from Bongo, that was in deep inside Ethiopia in the mountain. So when they finished, we went in and we did military training. Our military training finished in, I would assume, in October 1985. And right away, we came back to Bill Farm. And Bill Farm, Dr. John Garang, with the High Command, including our current president, they gave order to disarm us with the young people. So we're taking, actually, in the rank of the army, taking young people that we should not go to front line. From there, right there, we were selected, uniform were taken off from us, the gun were removed from us, and a matter of a week, we got a teacher coming from Cuba, and they start teaching us under the tree. They were able, had a chance to learn ABC when I was 14. And in 1985, Christmas, I think it was Christmas Eve, our current president, the one who gave us a goodbye, from Bill Farm to Havana. There was a process between government.
Yeah.
So
thank you, engineer. Because I still have a number of questions, I'm going to move very quickly. If you can quickly shed a light on what it was culturally, going from South Sudan to Cuba and then to Canada for schooling. And if you can tell us
I will
very
do it
briefly
quickly. Yes,
how
I
you
will do it
adapt.
quickly. It was really challenging because all of us, we've been in the movement for almost 2 years then. So when we got to Cuba, it was a culture shock. Most of us were really young, and with the nightmare of the war, I remember the first year, it was really, really tough. And now you will hear children screaming because of nightmare. Everything was different, food was different, everything, but at least all of us were grateful that we had a chance to education. And from there, we moved in with education. Some of us did not do well, they had to return back to the movement. And some of us did really well, went to university until 1991 when Mengistu Haile Mariam failed in the government. We were not able to come back. So then the government of Canada gave us a chance to go to Canada.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you.
Speaking about resilience, we hear time and again how important education and skills training is for reintegration of children associated with armed conflict, whether it's about basic dignity, being able to provide for yourself, or pursue something you're passionate about. Can you tell us how you decide to become a civil engineer?
Thank you. Before I get to how I become civil engineer, I just want to mention the importance of education. If I was not educated, if I did not have education I have today, I would not be able to help people that I'm helping today. So my message to any child soldier, please find a chance for you to go back to school. That's the only way you will be able to improve your life. Becoming a civil engineer, first I wanted to be a lawyer, but then I realized that being a lawyer and go to school and learn the law in a communist country may not be a good idea, because at the end of the day, I know I was going to leave Cuba at some point. So I decided to be a civil engineer, because when you are an engineer, especially, anywhere you go to, it's just about numbers, and anyone will give you a chance to give you a job. That's the reason I decided to do civil engineering.
Excellent. Now we're going to transition very, very quickly. During this journey, there was a specific piece of advice that resonated with you and helped you keep going. Can you shed a little bit of light on that, particularly when you got to Canada and you went to the Metropolitan University in Toronto?
My family. My family. Exactly the way I left them, the condition I left them in, they were the biggest why that I ever had. I would wake up every morning, and the first thing I would do is visualizing, ever meditation, and that's what I can see the condition I left them in. And I keep telling myself, the only thing that will get you a chance to help them is to get education. And that's why I was able to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you, engineer. Second to the last question. How are you making all the lessons you've learned from your experiences as a former child soldier to a successful entrepreneur, president and CEO, and sharing this with the next generation?
During my journey, I learned a lot, and I would say gratitude. I'm really grateful that I was given a chance the moment to go to school. That's why I decided to come back 2012 and found Liberty Engineering. It's not because I wanted to make money, but to give it back to the people. Thank you. You know, sometimes when I think about it, you are in the military rank and somebody just just tell you, lay down your arm and go back to school. They are giving you a second chance, because at that time probably I could have been one of the guys that died fighting. So my chance is to come and train young people, and that's what we're doing right now. We're training young people, we're creating jobs. And those kids, without knowing, they could be some of my colleagues that I train with them. And that's what really gives me that strength every day to help them. Thank you.
Liberty Engineering, if you don't know, is probably the only consulting engineering firm in South Sudan. Ben is a professional engineer, one of the highest standard program in Canada, the certification. And his company is one of the major consultancy firms that works for the US Embassy here in South Sudan. They're a team of professionals, and they're doing amazing work here in South Sudan. They have close to 80, if not 90 employees, and they keep growing. And the last question is, what's your vision and hope for the future of South Sudan?
I think we have a bright future. The country has a bright future. Because, you know, I always say that the war has brought curse, at the same time brought blessing. We have so many South Sudanese that I know that had access to the top quality education in the Western world. Doctors, engineers, educators, accountants, and people here in East Africa and in Sudan. If we all just put our hand together, forget about greed, and work for the nation, we can be a great nation here.
Amazing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, engineer. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the crowd for Engineer Benjamin? Any questions? If you don't mind, I would like to ask you two questions. I think you mentioned in the beginning of your journey you volunteered to become a child soldier. This is something that we see a lot in South Sudan, especially now, that young people are volunteering to become child soldiers. Why do you think it was very attractive to you? Maybe we can learn through your experience to understand more of the young people today and what exactly they're looking at. What was it, what made it so attractive? Was it lack of access to other activities, lack of access to education? Why was that your only option?
Well, I'm not too sure right now what's going on, but before that, I wouldn't say that it was anything attractive. The only thing was attractive is that you're able to get gun and come protect yourself. That's the only things. You know, I read a book called, I think somebody maybe has had access to it, Man's Search for Meaning. It's by Viktor Frankl, a guy that was Holocaust survivor. If you read that book, you will see why all of us who volunteered then. Personally, I think what happened here was a genocide. People don't recognize or not, I don't know, but I've seen it myself. Thank you.
Understood. Another question I have is on just healing and trauma that you grow up with. It can't be something easy to get over or get through. What have you done to get here in terms of healing? How do you heal from the trauma, all of the terrible things that you have seen?
Um, obviously, I was a lucky kid. You know, Henry Ford says that the harder you work, the luckier you become. My case, I was very, very lucky. Lucky in the sense that I was taken away from the arm and then sent to school. And I was able to take advantage of that. This trauma thing is hunted me down for more than 5 years. I would have nightmares, until after 5 years, that when it started slowing down. And I improved so much when I get to Canada. But when I was in Cuba, it was really, really hard because all of us were together and we keep reminding ourselves of what happened. But when we went to Canada, we were spread out, so you could live alone and you don't have anyone to remind you. It's really, really tough to get out of it. Thank you.
Okay, I saw a hand raised back there. Okay, one question. If you can come in front here. Tell us your name and your question. Very direct. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. My name is Magong Handru Jok, and I have a question to the engineer. Thank you so much for coming to South Sudan.
You're welcome.
Actually, having got an education from abroad and you come and change the society is something great, and we have to appreciate that.
Thank you.
My question is like this. How can the young people of South Sudan acquire quality education when they don't have
Can you have a chance and get Canadian education? And I'm sure also there are a lot of European countries that have the same kind of programs that they think that you can look at. Be some scholarship program available to do engineering. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Any other questions, or are we okay? Okay, one last question. I'm sorry, because of time, I'm only taking one more question. Yes? But Engineer Benjamin will be here, so you can meet him later on in network.
I'd just like to follow up on the trauma healing. Just to go to America or trauma healing. From the West, now you see there are a lot of people, alcoholic, didn't go to school, and they're stuck. They're stuck, they can come home, and they can help themselves, or can even help the country they're in. What would you do as a diaspora to make sure they are reconnected back home?
Cool. But what I can advise is, and if you are here, nations, especially UNICEF, they may be able to help you. Thank you.
Vulnerable with your story. We have learned a lot from your experience, and hopefully when it comes to healing and trauma, can get the help they need when it comes to that. Okay, before I move on with the guest of honor speech, I'd like to insert a little poem. How do we feel about that? This side, I want to hear Zero Child Soldiers, if you agree. I did not hear it. Okay, what about this side? You are not ready. Nobody ate today before they came. Let me hear it one more time. Zero Child Soldiers. And, okay, we're in agreement that
sense of our passion is infected with flea. Hence, we help homeless children and homes to ban politics, religion, family, and peer. A race that leaves us with crocodile tears, smiling at light, but hurting at heart for a chance to stab the next brother without blood. Feeding on people's weakness, troubles, and sickness. The goons to romance the opposition with blows, kicks, and axes. Yet we hang pictures of the known leaders. Mandela on our wall, John Garen gracing our minds. For the love of humanity, young seeds spring up, the nation to peace, away from bleeding. Let's embrace peace. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for Dude, please. I'd like to also acknowledge the presence of Honorable Angelina Teng, Minister of Defense and Veteran Affairs of the Republic of South Sudan. You are most welcome. Thank you for being here with us today. Achieving the goal of zero child soldiers cannot be done without the interference and attention of the government of South Sudan. That being said, please help me welcome one of our guests of honors for today, Honorable Awud Deng, Minister of General Education, the Republic of South Sudan. Honorable, you're most welcome.
Honorable Minister of Defense and my sister, Angelina Teng, His Excellency Julius, in charge of the Canada Embassy in South Sudan, all the ambassadors present, my sons and daughters present here in this gathering, let protocol remain observed. I want to congratulate the embassy for bringing this gathering to remember this important day that is celebrated all over the world. A story of South Sudan, I think it has been explained by our children, but I just wanted to say that it was between death and life for these children. It was not a force alone. I remember vividly in 2004, I went to the front line with some of the MPs from Kenya, where Commander Gadet was commanding forces. And we found 30 children carrying the gun from 10 to 7 to 8 to 12. The biggest one was maybe 14. And the MP asked, this was Professor Nyang Nyong, why are you recruiting the children? And he said, it is better you are the children. So when he turned to children, we have lost our parents and we are being taken to slavery. So I want to die with my dignity. I want to die defending myself, not taken as a slave. That was a story that touched everybody. So many children in South Sudan, whether from northern Bahr el Ghazal, where the raid was a single day and night, where children have been taken to slavery. And I think the story is known, how many children of South Sudan have been taken to slavery. So they chose between carrying their dignity and choosing to defend themselves, not the land, because their fathers were there. So this is a story where many people did not understand that the children volunteer because they want to defend themselves. When they came, many of them were taken to Penyudu, which is a well-known refugee camp. And including Dr. John himself was a teacher. He used to go to and teach. And I'm sure all the children who were in Penyudu spoke all the languages of South Sudan. and they were brothers and sisters. So when the journey came in 1991, when they were pushed out from Ethiopia, there are other stories that remain up to today on the mind of our kids, on the minds of our mothers, and the minds of our men. So it was a story of saying, where do I go? And I know River Gilo has taken so many children of South Sudan. And those who they're handing over to UNICEF by then in Rumbek of not less than 4,500 child soldiers that were picked from the army to be sent back to school. It is recorded as a history. We were very mindful. It was not just a war of defending ourselves, but also were conscious about education. So all along, you have heard from him. There were a number of children who were taken to Cuba, and all it was about education. And from there, they went to Canada. Majority of them are in South Sudan today as leaders. We knew that we have to sow the seed. When the war is over, those will come and take over. I also know that there were children that were in the army when I was a former minister of gender, that many of them were demobilized from the army and handing over to the government and our partners so that they joined the school. Recently, in Lakes State, where there was communal fight, there were children. And we have come up with the slogan of saying, drop the gun and pick the book. And those children who were, those who voluntarily gave their guns, we have given them books to go back to school. So I think it is a story that every child and every woman and every man in South Sudan can tell. But for me, I always believe that South Sudanese are very resilient. They can face any situation, but they will continue to learn. I have conducted for the last 2 years examination in the internal displaced camp. There are those in Egypt who are taking our exam. They are not in this country. And we were the only country during the difficult time of coronavirus where people don't believe that education in South Sudan is strong. Everybody who went to neighboring country came back and registered here and have their examination in South Sudan. So I think step by step, a nation is not built one day, but we need to be very focused. That we need to help this generation to prepare them for tomorrow. And I want to say that quality education is not new to us as South Sudanese. We had a very strong education in the past. It was destroyed during the liberation struggle. How many generations that has missed out in South Sudan who did not see anything called a classroom? But those who have struggled to be under trees and they were taught, today they are here as engineers, they are here as doctors, they are here as teachers, they are here as professors, and they're still giving services to this country. So I want to say that the story of a child soldier that has chosen, and as a child soldier that has may have been recruited to the army, and from after they have left the army, today, and my sister will testify, we have so many who have graduated in Juba University here. And they are giving back teaching in the same institution. So I think for me, quality education is not just for the government alone, but we must create that conducive environment, all of us as a family and our partners, to make sure that South Sudan walk the same path of everybody. So our commitment as a government to make sure that there's quality education is enshrined in the Constitution It is in all our legislation, and we have started doing this a step by step, starting from a child sharing, 19 children sharing one book. We are now a child having a one-to-one book. From no salary for teachers, now we have gone to 140% payment for teachers and additional allowances to improve the condition of service of our teachers. We have teachers who are qualified. Just on the 6th, our president enforced the constitution to say all public schools must register children free. And we are in the process of implementing that, us and our partners. So I think education, there's no nation that can develop without education. My mother, my late mother, during the liberation struggle, when kids were saying we are naked, we cannot go to classroom, he said, no. It is your body who is naked, but your brain is not naked. So go to the class and get the knowledge. And those children he has encouraged today are doctors. Some are pilots, some are professors, some are teachers. So I believe it is not about classroom. It's about a qualified teacher that giving quality education to our children. And for sure, we will not lose focus on education. If we were not here, we would have not fought the war we fought to liberate this country. So the spirit of those who sacrifice, as he said, there are those who, like you, have seen the independence of South Sudan. But there are those who did not see the independence. They did not wait for that day, but gave their life, including my late husband, who gave his life for this liberation struggle. So I think for me as a mother, we are on the right track, and we will focus in ensuring that quality education reach all children in South Sudan. We will leave no one behind. There are places where we have no access, even just a road to deliver education material. But we've chosen even to take helicopter to deliver them to them. But I'm sure another 5 years, we will be challenging everybody when it comes to education. Our children are very bright, and I see South Sudan has a bright future. They are creative, and they will be great leaders that will contribute not only to South Sudan, but to the continent and to the world at large. I stop here. Okay, at this juncture, I want to welcome my sister, Minister of Defense, Angelina Tench, to come and share what she knows about child soldier and the defense.
Dear sister and colleague, Aoud Dengachwil, Minister of General Education, Tragedy Affairs, Canadian Embassy, all the ambassadors and all who cared to be here today, to be part of this. I first want to greet you, but I also want to acknowledge and appreciate your presence and to show that you care. It's a difficult topic. It's a difficult topic because it's a reality. I was a member of DDR Commission before it became a commission, from 2003 going to 2005, and we started the demobilization program with children demobilizing kids from the liberation movement. Regardless of how they got there. It is difficult because it actually tells you the tragedy of war. And I think this should be the focus. Why we say war, there's no place for war in this day and age. Because war does a lot of things. We've just listened to the poetry from the young men. We've listened to the engineer. It robs one of childhood, whether you have been a child soldier or not. It takes that away from you. It takes away innocence from you. I have seen it firsthand. More often than not, what was narrated by the Honorable Minister, and we heard also from the engineer, more often than not, kids were not forced. The situation forced the kids to be in those situations. But we say also when you are a minor, you're not in a position to make such decisions. So again, the responsibility comes back to us. The responsibility comes back to us because a 14-year-old child is just that, is a child. Even if they chose to carry a gun, we would say they're not in a position to make that decision. We're responsible for them at that stage in their lives. But then, war being as ugly as is, you find that kids would do such. I just want to narrate a short story. A child who is no more. He was 11 years old. This was in 2013. We found ourselves in a place called Gadiang. One of the generals came to me and he called me out and he said, I want you to take care of this boy. He was screaming. He said, I'm not going with her. I want to be with you. So I tried to really persuade him. He had a name. His name was Pur. I said, you come with me. Let's go and look for something to eat. So I took him to a makeshift place where I do cooking. And we sat there. So I was asking him. He said, yes, I want to go and fight. I said, that's fine. You'll go and fight, but why do you want to go fight? He said, I left UNIMIS in Bor. And I came because I want to go and fight. But why? He said, because I think my father's dead. And I have 3 sisters, I left them behind. I said, okay. Your sisters, they're younger than you? He said, no. They're older than me, but they're girls, you know. I have to protect them because my dad's no more. So, as we were discussing, a gunship was flying and everybody went into their trench. he ran out and he was screaming, give me a gun. So I ran out and I was talking to him. Please, you can't shoot that thing with a gun. And finally I told him, do you want me to die? She said, no. I said, okay, if you don't want me to die, let's go and hide. By this time there was no one, just the two of us. To cut a long story short, I moved with that child for a couple of months. He was among soldiers. And I was trying to persuade him not to be around guns so much, which is very difficult because whenever we sit under a tree, there's always guns put around. So the only way to persuade him was to say, look, you be my bodyguard. But you see me, I don't carry a weapon. So you also don't carry a weapon. You see those bodyguards? When we're sitting, they don't even carry weapons. This is the situation when war breaks out, where kids find themselves. Now, no doubt, I am aware very much what a child soldier is, the definition of a child soldier. Because remember, I was dealing with demobilizing children from 2003. And here I am having a hard time persuading a little boy because I tried very hard to send him back to UNMISS. When we arrived at Kobo, I tried to send him to UNMISS there. He refused. And I knew very well, if I let go of him, he will definitely find his way back. So I had to keep holding on to him. So, to cut a long story short, I want to say we have a responsibility. It's not only education, but to ensure that we have that environment, stability and peace. Whenever you push for war, you can be certain there will be child soldiers. You can be certain you will not be able to stop them from taking a gun. You can also be certain that there will be the odd general who would want to go and use children. So our obligation becomes ensuring peace stays. Peace stays so that they can access that education, so that they can access that vocational training, so that they can be children and play with toys, cars, cows, and not guns. So, as sometimes when you're not in the ring, you can easily judge. When you're not in the ring, you can easily judge. So that's why I want to use the opportunity to also appeal to our partners who cares about children to take a step further to care about peace in this country and to support us in implementing this agreement that will help us to transit into a more permanent arrangement or governance arrangement that will diminish the possibility of going back to conflict. Right now, these conflicts that are happening, whether they are intercommunal, and it's even worse when it comes to the intercommunals, Because in those settings, it is not about the age. It is about initiation into manhood. Some communities initiate their boys at the age of 13, 14. Traditionally, those are men. And now young boys who would want to be part of that, if they are 12 and 11, they will sneak to go to be initiated in the bushes so that they can be part of that crowd. We really need to take away the romance that the kids see in this with weapons. Let me put it that way. We must really find a way of doing that, and that way is ensuring peace so that at least they can be falling in love with other things. Other things. And to know that gun is not necessarily strength. Having a gun is not necessarily strength. It's associated with tragedy and with death. So with this, I really want to thank the Canadian Embassy for creating this space, for all of us to have this dialogue. I think it's important to remind us. I also want to really take the opportunity to appreciate UN, because UN has been highlighting a number of days in a year, remembering child soldiers, remembering women and their plight, remembering the importance of peace. All of those are given days that are earmarked. So I want to appreciate. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Angelina, for your remarks and for being here today. Your institution, the Ministry of Defense, is a key institution to actually achieving the goal of 0 child soldiers. So we're happy that you are here, and we're also happy to hear that this is a very sensitive issue to you, and you're taking the responsibility very seriously. We appreciate your presence. Thank you so much for being here. Another round of applause. Okay, earlier on we spoke on healing and trauma, and some former child soldiers have found healing in laughter. That being said, I'd like to introduce to you a very, very special person. Comedian Wakil, if you're out there, please come on this stage and make us laugh.
At least clap for me. What is wrong with you people? I am very black or what? You're not seeing me? Yeah, I will be doing my jokes in English today, which is something I don't do usually. Because my English, if I speak English here, this is not English. Now I'm trying to copy her. But if I speak our English for our village, you will not understand even one word. First of all, from my mother's side, if you go to this side of Numile, where you are, this is Equatoria, you hear words like association, education, organization. How do you understand such English? From my village, from my father's village is the worst. People will say fiful. Prayer will say prayer. The worst is project will say project. They are there in your offices. I know they are there. Now, South Sudanese are very unique. We are very unique as South Sudanese. I was in Canada last week, and yeah, in my dream. Why are you laughing? I don't look like someone who can go to Canada? Yeah, I was in Canada. Yeah, I was in Canada. Canadians, you guys are so amazing. You guys are different. You're way different. And I've just realized that we are unique. We are very unique as South Sudanese. In Canada, I know you people know this, right? In Canada, when a policeman stops you, they're very polite, very nice. They stop you very nicely. Then they first greet you. How are you, sir? How are you? In Dubai, how are you? They greet you. How are you, sir? How is your day going? Can I have your papers, please? Please, you're begging me. Can I have your papers, please? You give them the paper. They'll look at the paper. Thank you so much, sir. You can proceed. Ah! You're thanking me? In Dubai, SPLA thanking me? It has never happened. It must be a miracle. I was driving before today here. Some traffic man stopped me. Beep. You know, the way they even stop you is different. You will know there's problem. They'll be like, beep, 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 beep. I stopped. He looked at me, very rude. Looked at me. I was like, Jibu logbook. I gave him the logbook. Jibu ruksa. I gave him the driving license. Jibu fire extinguisher. I showed him the fire extinguisher. Everything was okay. But the guy was still in January. Things were still bad in his pocket. So he looked at me and he was like, okay, why didn't you put on the seatbelt? I told him, you know, my brother, I forgot the seatbelt. Hey, you forgot seatbelt, park there. I don't want it. You know, I didn't want to miss this event. So I put my hand in the pocket and I gave him $100. The guy looked at the $100 and he looked at me and he was like, my brother, you should have told me your seatbelt is wireless. I'm telling you, South Sudanese are very unique, not so? Like, yeah, my name is Wakil Jesh Commando, and the reason why they call me Jesh Commando is when I started my comedy, my name is Wakil. When I started my comedy, I started talking about soldiers all the time. So people started calling me Jenajesh. Jenajesh, I didn't like it because it means child soldier, and it reminds me of all the horror things that happened in my past life and all this stuff. So I decided to go with Jesh Commando. Now my name is Wakil Jesh Commando. Okay? After Jesh Commando, my English is okay, Ajaman? You understanding me? you know, when I came back, when I got reunited with my family, I decided that I want to go to school. So when you're from a poor family, you always go to a government school. Government school. The government is here. Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. Now, government school is way back, not now, okay? Where this joke is not coming through. This joke is not coming the way I thought it is. Now, you go to a government school where teachers sometimes don't receive salaries. For 3 months, these guys become very rude, very arrogant. They come into class and they ask you some questions. If you don't answer, they start slapping you, beating kids anyhow. So this one came to my class one day. And he told me, Wakil, get up. I got up. And I was like, give me one of the animals that can fly. I told him a cow. Can a cow fly? You cow. He slapped me. Pa, come here. I came. He got 5 slashes. Get out of my class. As I was going out, he called me, come back here. I came back. He looked at me and was like, tomorrow you call your father. I told him my father cannot come here. He said, whose son are you? Your father cannot come here because he's foolish like you. Whose son are you? Yeah, I knew if I mentioned my real father, things were going to get worse. So I lied. I said, I am the son to Minister of Defense, Kwal Manyang Juk. Former Minister of Defense. The guy was like, Minister of Defense? I was like, yeah, my son, your answer is correct. You can sit down. He said, I forgot that these Rumbek cows can fly at night. Now, you know, being from a poor family, things are all dramatic. You know, we were very poor to the extent that we could not even afford something to eat. Sometimes we could even sleep without food for 3 days. 3 days. This time we were very poor. I did not even eat for 2 days. Some good food, I did not eat for 2 days. So on top of that, kidnappers came and kidnapped me. Kidnappers. And we were very poor, we could not even afford food. They told me, do you know your father's number? I gave them the number. They called my father. He said, are you the father to Wakil? He said, yes. Now what is wrong again? What did he do? He said, they told him, for you to see Wakil, you need to pay $10,000 US. He said, $10,000 US. They told him, yeah. The American money? They told him, yeah. He said, but where will I get this money now? He has not even eaten for 2 days. He's going to die there for you there. They told him, no, don't worry about food. We have just given him chicken. He's with us at the hotel. He said, he's in the hotel eating chicken. You come and take the brothers, yak. Yeah. Being from a poor family, things are always dramatic. You know, talking about South Sudan, do we believe that tribalism has really taken South Sudan way back. It has really destroyed South Sudan. And I'm one of the people that I hate tribalism so much in South Sudan. When I was at school, most of my friends were from different tribes. Different tribes. That's how I got to learn different languages in South Sudan. As I'm speaking now, I can speak Bari, I can speak a little bit of Nuer, I can speak Dinka. And this is very good, by the way. So, talking about tribalism, back then, we had this neighbor who was too tribalistic. who was too tribalistic. You know, this guy liked tribalism so much. One day his daughter came, he became pregnant. Instead of asking whose son is he, maybe some good person like me, he asked, which tribe impregnated you? The daughter was like, he told me that he's from Dinka. Dinka? You brought Dinka to this house? You brought a Dinka to this house? I don't want Dinka. Blah, 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 blah. Quarrel for 2 hours. After 2 hours he asked, whose son did he say he is? He told me he's the son to His Excellency President Salva Kiir Mayardit. He said, President? He said, yeah, we are all South Sudanese, he can come. Yeah. Tribalism has taken South Sudan back. And it is really good it's really good to see South Sudan moving in a good direction. Right now, as you can see, things are peaceful. If South Sudan was not peaceful, if Juba is not peaceful, we will not be here. Yeah. I'm a big comedian, and I've traveled a lot of states in South Sudan. Like I said, I was in US, Unity State, people, Unity State. What is wrong with you people? I've never been there, but I can see a couple of ambassadors in the building. I'm winning a visa tonight. Well, like, ambassador, you're here. Now, I visited a couple of states. So my village people, when they heard that I'm a big comedian in Juba, they're like, no, let our son come to the village. Let him come and receive some blessing. Let him come and make us laugh. We have never laughed for so long. They took me to the village. Now, one thing with my village, things are way different. Not like Juba here. Things are very different. Even their artists. Here we have good artists. Very good names like Emmanuel Jal, Emmanuel Kembe, Emmanuel Nga. Those good names for artists. But in my village, because they listen to Lil Wayne a lot, their names have to start with the Lil. They like that Lil name for Lil Wayne. So I was backstage and MC was like, put your hands together for Lil Mabur. Lil Mabur came. He sang. He was like, he finished. Put your hands together for Lil Malwal. Lil Malwal came. Finish. Put your hands together for... Their names are all with M, Malwal, Makir, Majuk, Mayar. So I was like, I asked the MC, this is the only artist. This one is a very small artist. The national artist, big artist is behind there. I was like, international artist in my village and I don't know. Who is this guy? He said, don't worry. This guy is very big. He's behind there. He's going to come now. Now, I was waiting for the guy to come. They changed from the local language to English. For now, we are going very bigger. We are going very international. This guy coming is very bad. This guy coming is very fire. This guy coming is international. This guy coming is very bigger. I was like, this guy's killed the show already. This guy coming is blah, blah, blah. This guy coming, you put your hand together. Listen to his name. Put your hand together for Lil Big Dog. I was like, so you're the biggest dog here. Let me come and see you. I was waiting for the guy to come. He came with 20 bonsas, and he was in front. I was like, 20 bonsas. I was looking for the guy. He came on stage, picked up the mic. I was waiting for the American songs to start since he's international. He was like, I can see Ambassador is laughing. People, I am going to Canada next week. God is hearing my prayers, very small. Yeah. Are we together? I was given 15 minutes, but because of time, some of us here have curfew tonight. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, my people.
Thank you so much, Wakil. The time has come for our headlining act and former child soldier, an artist that has often, if not all the time, voiced the struggles of many, especially child soldiers and refugees, through his music. Emmanuel Jal, the stage is yours.
War child, lost boy, Lucifer, could never destroy. So much pain, very little joy. Kalashnikov was my childhood toy. Came from the bottom, like a lobster. Rolling at the top now like a rock star. Looking for peace, maybe together we could make the war cease. Send mankind to the moon, we can bridge to the bottom of the sea. That's why it's really kinda baffles me that we cannot end wars and bring peace. We cannot change the way people act, huh? We cannot change the way people think. So we sit back, chill out and relax. Civilization will soon be extinct. That's why I am. I'm calling on the whole wide world. On the whole wide world. Come on, people, would you help me? Help me scream and shout. Let's scream and shout, cause we want peace, yeah. Yes, we want peace. To say the least, I dedicate this song to the common people, caught in the middle of this common evil. I wish the world was a little bit better. Time to start looking at the man in the mirror. Fear is their policeman. Fear me good genocide within the so he can feel a warm genocide. How about was weekend? Silent of the lamb, cause nobody was speaking. That's why I am. I'm calling on the whole wide world. On the whole wide world. Come on, people, would you help me? Help me scream and shout. Let's scream and shout. We want peace, yeah. Yes, we want peace. To say the least, say it after Rwanda. Never again. And after Rwanda, it's happening. Not far from Rwanda. Just next door. We're gonna shout for the poor people living in Darfur. The world gone deaf, the world gone blind. The world busy sitting down on the behind. Nobody cared about a poor and needy. Too busy sucking up to the rich and the greedy. For every hero there's a villain. I am kidding. We're gonna shot setting up or stealing. One more time, we got no more time. We gotta figure out a way that we could all combine. Like Jericho, the world comes tumbling down. The sound of voices out of city surround. You know what it's one now. Time to put a voice to work. We gotta shake down heaven and earth. That's why I am. I'm calling on the whole wide world. On the whole wide world. South Sudan, would you help me? Help me scream and shout. Let's scream and shout. We want peace, yeah. Yes, we want peace. To say the least. Come on, everybody, come on. Come on, everybody, come on. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Everybody stand up. Stand up, everybody stand up. Yeah. Let me see your peace sign, everybody. Let me see your peace sign, hold it, yeah. We want peace. We are gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We want peace, and we are gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We want peace, and we are gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We want peace. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We want peace, and we are gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We want peace, and we are gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We want peace, and we are gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We want peace, and we are gonna get it. We're gonna get it. We're gonna get it. Let me see your peace sign, everybody. Thank you. So before I go on, this is an amazing opportunity. I'm coming to perform in my country, and I'm given the same opportunity by another country of mine. So I'm a South Sudanese Canadian. So I want to be able to recognize
some of my heroes here who are here with me. My mom, Honorable Dr. Angelina Tain, Minister of Defense, and also want to honor Dr. Mai, Representative Minister of Education. I want to do that. And also Ministry of Health, sorry, but I want to also honor Honorable Awut Deng, Minister of Education. We have Abram, Ambassador Gordon Boy, Deputy Ambassador of South Sudan, US and Canada. Then Honorable Ambassadors from my country, Julius Egbayami, Ambassador of Canada, Lincoln Berryman, Embassy of Norway, Marjan Schreiber, Embassy of Netherlands, Thomas Bruden, Embassy of Sweden, Michael Elder, Embassy of the United States of America, Johnny Baxter, British Embassy to Juba. So then we have UNICEF here, and there's other collaborators that made this event possible. So I want to say thank you for coming for this special day, which is marking the International Day Against the Use of Child Soldiers. So before I move on, I want to begin with a question. Who owns your mind? Look at your neighbor and ask them, who owns your mind? Who owns your mind? So I go to schools, college, universities, and conferences, and I ask that simple question. A little kid put his hand up and he said, sugar owns his mind. And then there was a man in Utah, he put his hand up and he said, a Somali woman's on his mind. Who owns your mind? Because the battles are fought in the mind and they are won in the heart. And whoever owns your mind owns you and everything you create. What owned my mind was fear, worry, anxiety, poverty. But what dominated my mind the most was something called trauma. What is it? I call it a soul murder, a mental genocide, an invasion of demons to occupy space in your mind. So you have flashbacks in the day and nightmares at night. Where did it come from? It's rooted in my childhood experiences. I was born in the 80s when my country was at war with itself. You know, the problem with trauma is some people don't know they have it. Some knows it, don't know what to do about it. Some may seek help and it could take them a lifetime to heal. And so I asked my sister, Nyarwach, what does trauma mean to you? Because during the war, she was raped several times. And to me, it feels like hell has been put in, what she said, hell poured in her. And her body is burning all the time, waiting for any person to scratch her bit and she wants to burn her, to feel the same fire that she's feeling. Now, some people, you know, here maybe your trauma could be a car accident, business deal going wrong, could be anything. So mine is rooted in my childhood. And in the war, it took the soul of my village. The thing that I was connected to was taken away. All my aunties from my mother's side, all of them died. All my uncles has been claimed by the war. My mom too was claimed by that war. By the age of 7, my father told me I'm going to go to school in Ethiopia, where I ended up becoming a child soldier. And so, in this day, we're marking that, this day. But I'm personalizing my journey. I'm going to take you on a journey of how my childhood experiences has laid a foundation to which I'm able to find a value. Because what I know is suffering is essential for every human being. And when you don't find a meaning in your suffering, you exist to suffer. And so, each one of us has to develop their own philosophy to guide them in their life to find a meaning. It could be hugging a tree. Some of you sometimes see me, I wear a bed sheet, and they think Emmanuel is nuts. But sometimes when I put that bed sheet, it gives my life a meaning for that day. You know, someone else maybe is smoking weed. And you tell her you're smoking too much weed. for that moment is helping them with their issues. And when they find something else, they'll go for it. You find somebody else is holding on to their bottle every day. They fall up, wake up, they take it one more time, and it's helping them. But me, I found different ways to which I can be able to manage my challenges. So I want to do a spoken word called Forced to Sin to take you on a journey. So when I say forced to sin, you can go with me. Forced to sin to make a living. Can we do that? Forced to sin to make a living. Forced to sin. It's so cool to make like government officials and ambassadors to rap. You have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to feel cool. Okay, so let's go. Forced to sin to make a living. Forced to sin.
Forced to sin to make a living.
Forced to sin.
Forced to sin to make a living.
Forced to sin.
Forced to sin to make a living.
Sometimes you gotta lose to win. Never give up. Never give in. My dreams are like torment. My every moment. Voices in my brain of friends that was slain. Friends like Loal who died by my side of starvation. In the barren jungle and the desert plain. Next was I, but Jesus heard my cry. As I was tempted to eat the rotten flesh of my comrade, he gave me comfort. We used to raid villages, stealing chickens, goats and sheep, anything we could eat. I knew it was rude, but we needed food. And therefore I was forced to sin.
Forced to sin to make a living.
Forced to sin.
Forced to sin to make a living.
Forced to sin.
Forced to sin to make a living.
Left home at the age of 7. 1 year later, I lived with an AK-47. By my side, slept with one eye open wide. Run duck, play dead and hide. I've seen my people die like flies. But I've never seen a dead enemy, at least one that I've killed. But still as I wonder, I won't go under. Guns barking like lightning and thunder. As a child so young and tender. Words I can't forget, I still remember. As a sergeant command, raising his hand, no retreat, no surrender. Yigish, I carry the burn of the trauma. War child, child without a mama. Still fighting in the saga. Yet as I wage this new war, I'm not alone in this drama. No sit or stop, as I reach for the top. I'm fully dedicated like a patriotic cop. I'm on to fight day and night. Sometimes I'm doing wrong in order to make things right. It's like I'm living a dream. First time I'm feeling like a human being. The children of Darfur, your empty bellies and the telling nights, you that I'm fighting for. Forced to sin.
Forced to sin to make a living.
Forced to sin.
Forced to sin to make a living.
Forced to sin.
Forced to sin to make a living.
Sometimes you gotta lose to win. Never give up. Never give up.
Never give in.
Never give up.
Never give in.
For child soldiers' rights, for women's rights, for justice, equality, and freedom for all, we shall never give up and never
give in.
Let me see your power sign, everybody. Never give up and never
give in.
For our dreams and our visions to make this world a better place. We shall never give up and never
give in.
Thank you. Thank you. So I wanna go deep a little bit before we can have instead, because I was asked to share my journey and also perform. So there'll be a lot of important people here who are dealing with children, right? And people who are investing in my country. So it's just to create an emotional connection. So I want just, one of the lowest point I've ever been as a kid, now is my strongest point. I'm drawing principles that I've learned in that path that have helped me today. This Juba that we're in, I used to be in a place called Kurki, when the place was being attacked. So when we talk about trauma, some of you sometimes see me do this. Now that is a memory, sometimes I'm not aware when I do this. So we were in a bunker one time, and a bomb dropped. And so when I was in that bunker, something told me just move to the side. And if you don't move now, you're going to die. So I obeyed the voice, so I moved. When I just moved like less than a second or 2 seconds, a sharp object from the bomb that fell outside just came and passed almost through my throat and hit the part I was in. And everybody there, because of the energy that it came and pulled me apart, so everybody thought probably I was hit. And so now when we talk about trauma, those are flashbacks. Sometimes your hand, you remember it and you go like that, or you're not aware. So sometimes you see me maybe like I'm holding my throat like this. So those are some of the side effects, but it doesn't impact me. Now I can draw something positive out of it. So in this Juba area, an escape was planned. And we were told the journey was going to take us 1 month. It took us 3 months. And we were told at this moment, when we ran out of food, we applied the basic soldier skill. So basically we could eat anything. There was no water, and we would wipe our hand on the grass and we'd lick it several times. That was our water. In this journey, I drank on urine in order to gain water when there was no water. But it actually made me more thirsty. I remember there was a child who was walking with us, another child soldier. He was promised we'll come and pick him, so we put him on the tree. And few minutes, like I was walking 50 meters away from him, when I looked behind, he took his gun and he cocked it, and he fired the bullet on his head, and he collapsed on the ground. Now the challenge I had to face in this journey was the thought of what he did. I remember standing, battling my mind, something saying, why don't you do like what this kid did? And how I was able to overcome it is, as a kid, I always wanted to be a part of a solution. So I used imagination. So whenever I encounter a situation, I hide in my imagination. I discovered two things. Through imagination, I can imagine the future in a negative way and to paralyze me, or can imagine the future in a positive way and it energizes me. And so I stopped and I imagined myself as a commander. So I said, one day I'm going to be a big commander. How would that look like, being commander? Inspired by William Nyonbany, who was one of our commanders then. I want to be like that. And so in my imagination, I go to the future and see myself as a commander. The next thing is, I want to be a pilot. So as a kid, your brain can take you through different aspects. And I would stand there going as a pilot, as a storyteller, as anything. When I get into the future, one thing I came to realize is my mood changed. So I discovered like imagination is like the eye of the future, but it's also providing fuel for our hope to stay alive. And that's what I was able to overcome that thought. But to move forward, the journey became more intense at one point where my left toe, even if you see like this foot of mine is burned during the war that time, then my left toe here was cut. So it was a difficult thing to do. We arrived in this much difficult situation, and probably most of the South Sudanese may not have heard about this, you know, because here in our country, everybody like to cry inside, and they never want to show their tears. And that's why life is so difficult. So I've learned how to express and how to draw into the pain of the past and using it positively. And so at this poor moment, I discovered one thing in this journey, because when your future, your present, and the past collide negatively, at one moment you lose hope. Now I'm starving, I'm dehydrated, my foot is hurting, and I tried to use my imagination, it couldn't come. So the pressure was high. What did I do? The thought that is telling me to end my life won. I took my gun. I tried to cock it with my hand. My hand was not strong enough, so I put it between my foot and I closed my eye. And I cocked it with my foot, and then I closed my eye and I fired the bullet. Now the bullet failed. Now the bullet did not come out. Sometime I would remember that moment, how I heard the click, but the bullet didn't come out. But a voice and the pain of my foot because of the shock disappeared. But it started coming back slowly by slowly, accounted by a voice telling me, you are here for a reason. then I pick that voice and I say, I believe I've survived for a reason. And for that reason, I'm going to stay alive. And that moment, I used that word and I repeat it over and over. It became like a mantra, repeating it over and over, believing that I'm in this world for a reason. It became an energy that allowed me to go throughout the journey, where I was able to face other challenges. I remember that time, after saying that word all over and over, I was able to move. The pain was still in my foot, but after a while, by living in my head in a positive way, the pain disappeared. That night, I slept so well. So we encountered other challenges on the way. And those challenges, now here, my imagination was one of the tools that I was using in my survival, but now I'm accompanied by something else called believing that I'm in this world for a reason, and I'm going to be a part of a solution. So now my building motivation is reasons why I should stay alive. So life is full of tests. You overcome these challenges, another one comes. So another challenge came. We arrived in a swampy ground, and in this swampy ground, what happened is, when you fall in this water, because everybody else is tired, everybody's moving so slow forward, you know. And when you fall in this journey, you know, I have one of my colleagues here who are in the same journey. It's called General Lul. If you've heard about him, he's a spokesperson for SPLM. If anyone knows about him, you could put your hand up. So if you've heard about him, so he was with us in this journey. He was the strongest child soldier who survived later on and came and sent in reinforcement for us. So in this water, some of the things I'm sharing and the principles I gathered in this journey became the blessing that I live my life with today. So we arrived here in this swampy ground. There's a child soldier who fell in front of me. And as he was drowning, a bigger soldier tried to pick him up. He didn't have energy. They both drowned. So I stood there. Now, we're trained to be each other's keeper, but watching two people die in front of you is difficult. So the same negative thought came and told me, you're useless, you're a coward, you did nothing. The only way I was able to overcome it is to say, I believe I've survived for a reason, and for that reason, I'm going to stay alive and tell that story. That changed the entire energy at that moment. And that became one of the foundations that allowed me to tell stories. And from that, I was able to close my eyes to see if I could imagine, because they were too difficult. So I like to escape into imagination every time something is difficult, to dream. But this time, before I could escape into imagination, a voice came and told me, Jal, you're always dreaming about the future. You are in the problem right now. What are you going to do? And then I asked my mind the same question. What is it I can do now? So my mind told me, why don't you collect the leaves of that tree, and if you don't die, share it with the rest. So I went and collected the leaves of trees. I ate it. Others joined. My mind asked me the question, why don't you collect the nails, the snails that are floating on the water, eat? Why don't you shoot the vultures? And went on. The next thing is, why don't you shoot the vultures that are eating dead bodies? What did I learn in this journey? I came to realize our perspective can block us from opportunities. Our beliefs, because I come from a place where we don't eat frogs, we don't eat snails. We had adults that died because of those beliefs. So our beliefs can also blind us or open opportunity. For example, I used to have a belief as a kid, Dinka eat people. And as a kid, my friend will sleep next to me. He's my best friend, but I'm scared that a tail will pop in his ass and then beat me at night. So imagine your best friend you play football with, but at night you sleep with the opposite side. And my friend is called Vincent Nyol. If you don't know him, it's in Australia, but he's from the Barkazal side. And all us, we have believed the Barkazal people eat people. So imagine how terrifying a belief can do for you. Now you may even believe like, oh, the Congolese have this, or black people are this, or white people are this. So what I can say is this journey has opened my mind to be able to have an open mind to things, or widening our perspective. And so I close this. I survived this journey. I ended up in a place called Word, where I met a British aid worker called Emma McCune. So arriving in Kenya, that's when I came to realize what trauma is. We have nightmares. Going to school was difficult. A teacher would teach me, and the pen would get stuck in my hand. I have a flashback of what happened. Can you imagine? My head became so thick that I was able to repeat one class 4 times. This head was not taking things. I love maths, but maths hate me. So, what did I discover? Music, sport, all the other stuff. Those are the things that I was interested in. I love maths, but when I do other sport, I discover through this thing I'm able to create mental space. So when I have mental space, now I can go and read a book. So when you look at the art, when you see us dancing this way, we have issues. If you have no issue, you go to school, you get straight A's. You know? But us, our brain could not take it. And I'm sure there are some commanders here have trying to get their PhD and go back to school. They are finding it hard. Kids, little bits, beat them in school. But if they can play football a bit, dance a little bit, and sweat and do something, and then after that moment go and grab a book and read, you create mental space, you read. And to fast forward through the beliefs and consistencies, I was able to go to University of Westminster. One time I got maths 100%, physics 98%. So it's possible to believe and change our lives. So now, what I want to leave is a message for South Sudan is, for the young people here, let's dream. As we heard from our ambassador, Julius from Canada, he came from a village where there was no water, but he had a vision that he's going to go to school. And now from that village, now he's an ambassador to Canada. It doesn't make sense. I went to, does it connect? Yeah? I was a little starving kid here behind Juba, but now I'm an international artist. Eating with kings and queens in the world. Yeah? Spiritual leaders. Yeah? So, when I went to Canada, what did I have in Canada? All I had was a story to tell, a little bit of courage, and believing that I can make a difference. In Canada, I was able to thrive. Somebody asked me, what do you think about Canada? I call Canada heaven, because I know where I come from. Now, maybe for some artists here, you could see my music videos are shot by grants from Canada. Can you imagine? Like, wow, I want to go on tour. Let's say I want to go to Europe. How many dates? They pay for your hotel. They pay for your band members. You know, I wish South Sudan can do this, that they have a grant just to promote artists. And I asked, why is Canada doing this? I realized some of the top Canadians that are famous here were funded by the Canadian government for them to do their tours. How many know about Drake? This South Sudan knows about Drake? Yeah, Nelly Furtado, all of those people were funded. So sometimes art is a good thing, and I hope that our country will take this serious. It's the cheapest way to advertise your country. Cheapest way. Like Bob Marley, if you think about Bob Marley, what do you think about? Jamaica. Now all women every summer goes to Jamaica. Yeah, one love. You know? Jamaica economy is what is driving Jamaican economy? Music, yeah? Especially reggae. So, right now we're going to have a good time. So this is a beautiful day. And some of you have curfews. But this is Gua, my first hit song that gave me international attention. So let's go.
I pray.
كده استنوا نفكر كبل لو كان في سلام نجنوا نسلوا فرع كبير أيكون في السودان يا ربي أسمع كوراتنا يا ربي أسمع سلاتنا يا ربي درجوا تمدي بارك جاك شنو دي أوتمال دورا كت مدي نيومان يوك ماي كمات كتير مدي يان يوك ماي كتير مدي ماي دور كبول أنا مو تمدي بارك جاك كودنا لو دوران كدنا دوران ترس تمدي بارك جاك I can't wait for that day I live with you me the red. How is everybody doing? On you up. Everybody get up. Follow me, let me show. Go with me, this way. This is the South Sudanese dance. Hold on a minute, think for a minute. Kebelet lo confess salam again nasal. Farakabira you confess and when my people plant seed in the land, when my people will be free in the land, when my people, yeah, I can't wait for that day when I see no more tears, no more fear, no cry, no tribalism, no partisan and racism in my motherland. I can't wait for that day when the wonderful people go back home and plant their nation in this generation.
I'm the pioneer, I pay. Nabi Korolo Panda, Nabi Korolo Panda. Teloida, Nanga, Shagwa.
19 years I was fading aid, 25 years of hopelessness. As I sing this song, I'm strong, I dedicate it to the lost souls. Every second, every year, every hour as I grow older, I'll never ever forget it, never ever forget you. Shagwa,
I'm the pioneer, I pay. Nabi Korolo Panda, Nabi Korolo Panda. Mashikira ana lafikira bele na salam, hey mama.
Kulana akwan,
hey mama.
bele ne jamil,
hey mama. Mashikira ana lafikira bele na tamam, hey mama.
Kulana akwan,
hey mama.
bele ne jamil.
Hey mama.
Strong, smart with a lot of love. Challenges come way wise above. We care, forgive, we care. Wealth here, fresh here. Mashikira ana lafikira Jaka Ben Kamal.
Nong neroda.
Jaka Ben Gangay.
Nong neroda.
Jaka Ben Gangno.
Nong neroda.
I will say Guanaka got Kaye, my boy, hey.
A boy.
I will say Guanaka got Kaye, my boy.
A boy. Mashikira ana lafikira bele na salam, hey mama.
Kulana Akwan,
Hey mama.
Bele ne Jamil.
Hey mama. Mashikira ana lafikira bele na tamam, hey mama.
Kulana Akwan,
Hey mama.
Bele ne Jamil.
Hey mama.
Hey Juba, are you with me? Can I hear a big scream? Alright, go with me this way. Let me see both of your hands like this is how South Sudan dance. That's how they do it. Go. Strong, smart, with a lot of love. Challenges come way rise above. We care, forgive, we care.
Mashikira ana lafikira bele na salam, hey mama.
Kulana Akwan,
Hey mama.
Bele ne Jamil.
Hey mama. Mashikira ana lafikira bele na tamam, hey mama.
Kulana Akwan,
Hey mama.
Bele ne Jamil.
Hey mama. Semelendo.
Torit,
Semelendo.
Juba,
Semelendo.
wow, Volcana Malakal, Kaji,
Semelendo.
wow,
Semelendo.
Kaya,
Semelendo.
Abie, Fenchala, Akoba, Naswao, Abu Bacon, Akaya, I will say one Kagat Kaye, my boy. I will say one Kagat Kaye, my boy, hey.
A boy.
I will say one Kagat Kaye, my boy.
A boy.
Juba, are you with me?
Okay, follow me this way. That's how we do it.
Buntu. All right, everybody follow me. Let me see your hand like this. Everybody go with me this way. Bilaba chocolate. This way. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. More volume. Bilaba chocolate. Ubuntu. 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 Ubuntu power. Ubuntu. 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 Ubuntu power. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Ubuntu. 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 Ubuntu power. Ubuntu. 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 Ubuntu power. I made up my mind and my soul. I carry the cross on my shoulder. This cause has made me bolder, better, stronger, freedom fighter. Lamdoma sharba, sharba. Tama burcha dengan sharba. Spread everywhere, pressure in the air. Be the balance to make things fair, fair. Do you know about killer robots? Making decision to kill or not. Our world in a mess, let's fix it. Don't bury your head in the sand like a nose switch. Come on, do something. Might take it and get it. Be the love, be the medicine. You go. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Ubuntu. 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 Ubuntu power. Ubuntu. 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 Ubuntu power. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Ubuntu. 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 Ubuntu power. Ubuntu. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Ubuntu. 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 Ubuntu power. Ubuntu. Ubuntu. Ubuntu power. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Ubuntu. 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 Ubuntu power. Ubuntu. 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 Ubuntu power. I am what I am because of you, Nyang Liu. Nyang Liu, get them, Nyang Liu, get them. You are what you are because of me, Nyang Liu. Nyang Liu, Ubuntu, Nyang Liu. Nyang Liu, Ubuntu, Nyang Liu. Go with me, Nyang Liu. Let's go. Adonye, Adonye. Adonye, Adonye. Adonye, Kamasake. Adonye, Kazungola. Here we go. Adonye, Adonye. Adonye, Adonye. Adonye, Kamasake. Adonye, Kazungola. Adonye, Adonye. Adonye, Adonye. Adonye, Kamasake. Adonye, Kazungola. Everybody go with me. Let me see your foot like this. Adonye, Adonye. Adonye, Adonye. Adonye, Kamasake. Adonye, Kazungola. Here we go. Adonye, Adonye. Everybody. Adonye, Adonye. Adonye, Kamasake. Adonye, Kazungola. One more time. Adonye. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Ubuntu. 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 Ubuntu power. Ubuntu. Ubuntu. Ubuntu power. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Bilaba chocolate. Ubuntu. 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 Ubuntu power.
Yeah, yo, 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 nyawaka. Yeah, yo, 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 nyawaka.
Come forward.
Yeah, yo, 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 nyawaka. Yeah, yo, 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 nyawaka.
Rock a boom, tell like a boom, hey yeah, a boom. Bet now I'm ring on manga. Cook for you, now we live together. Rock a boom, tell like a boom, hey yeah, a boom. Bet now I'm ring on manga. Cook for you, now we live together. We yeah, 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 we yeah,
indeed, we are, King one for the chair, we are, and Yamaga, we are, quite long, yeah, longer, we are,
A boom boom shakalaka kare gara love. Like the way you do your sing up. You do your thing. Like the way you make me sing up.
You make me sing.
Shout out, you gonna shout to go. Open heart and open mind. And they oh, and then
and you wanna go.
And they yo. And then
and you wanna go.
Madonga manang nanyam. Take it, yeah.
And you wanna go.
Washom maden alum. Take it, yeah.
And you wanna go.
A buru take it, a carnivore.
Yo, you wanna.
A buru take it, a carnivore.
Yo, you wanna.
A buru take it, a carnivore.
Yo, you wanna.
A buru take it, a carnivore.
Yo, you wanna.
Sugar, shara nyama kwai. Thelma bora, potent, long arwai. Incredible, wonderful, beautiful. So sweet, so kind, so natural. Energy, a force like a gravity. Cutie, a girl with a dignity. Naya diku, nyal naga diku. Naya shandu, nyal naga shandu. Rock a boom, chat like a boom, a boom. Better nyama ring on manga. Cook for you, now we live together. Rock a boom, chat like a boom, a boom. Better nyama ring on manga. Cook for you, now we live together. Didn't get a kind of boom.
Yo, wanna.
A buru didn't get a kind of boom.
Yo, wanna.
A buru didn't get a kind of boom.
Yo, wanna.
A buru didn't get a kind of boom.
Yo, wanna.
Thank you.
Amani,
Boy soldier now avatar. We'll fight with Lucifer. I survive, Lord of my circle. And then God is far. I walk in my purpose and I'm in sync with everything.
Hallelujah.
I will stay good.
Hallelujah.
I will stay good.
Hallelujah.
Amani,
Shanga Fosaba. 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 Shanga Fosaba.
Amani,
Sakena, Sherman Ramasaken, TV Nana magazine, Kamaya Parga Lamasin, Yenga was Kamasakena, Sherman
Kamasakena, Kuke, Maramana Kula, Kusela, Kusala Mayo. Walolo, Kuke, Maramana Kula, Kusela, Kusala Mayo. Shanga Fosaba. 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 Amani, Amani.
Chijitara la manaka. Chijitara la manaka. Everybody. Chijitara la manaka. 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 Are you having a good time? How you guys doing? Are you here with me? So I have one last song and I just want a few volunteers. Then we can close the party with a bang. So you're welcome. As a volunteer, come, you'll love it. Bring your friend. Yeah. So you're welcome. A volunteer. 2 more volunteers. Yes, you. And you. Kuja, kuja, kuja. Okay, come upstairs here. Come here, up here. So everybody else, look at me. I want to show you a simple dance that we can do together and we can close this amazing moment. All right, everybody, look for space, you know, this way. I know maybe some of you are wondering what's going on. I have some merchandise there. If you ever get a chance, you can look at that corner later. But everybody, this way. This way. So we go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we go like this. 1, 2, quack, quack. 1, 2, quack, quack. 1, 2, quack, quack. Ta 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 ta. Don't just watch. Let's have a good time. Drop it, DJ. Let's go. Let me see your hands like this, everybody. Here we go. Angan balang siya ko'y luatora. Angan balang ya malo shara. Here we go. I'm playing pressure. Give the best up. Build the nest. Show success. Kindness will kill the mess. She's my royal highness. She danced with me with a massacre. Holding me like a baby. I gave my all on me and me. Shaka on me, penny and me. Now, Charlie, I have the way. The Lord, I have the way. And my father, long as short, I do start shabby. Now, Charlie, I have the way. The Lord, I have the way. And my father, long as short, I do start shabby. She told me to show her my power. Everybody. She told me to show her my power. She told me to show her my power. She told me to show her my power. Everybody, back it up, back it up, back it up. Come on, come on, come on, come on, back it up, back it up, back it up. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Angan balang siya ko'y luatora. Angan balang ya malo shara. Angan balang siya ko'y luatora. Here we go. She say you talk, my heart tickles. I smile, she had a giggle. Cute face with a lovely dimples. Of course I touch a middle. Spring rain, waste high summer. With they gave me a quick cover, we took some time, went for dinner. That's when I became a winner. Lehe, 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 lehe. Everybody, here we go, one more time. Lehe, 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 lehe. She told me to show her my power. She told me to show her my power. She told me to show her my power. She told me to show her my power.
Bangan malang ya malo sharap. Bangan balang siya kwe luator. Lamnya budi. Here we go. Kanya galwa se aero.
She says so.
Kanya korobol se aero.
She says so.
Melissa. Sarah.
Juba,
are you with me? Let me see both of your hands up, everybody in Juba. All right. Kanya galwa se. Kanya galwa se aero. Kanya koti se aero. She told me to show her my power. Let me see your power sign.
She told me to show
her my power. Hands together. Here we go.
She told me to show her my power. She told me to show her my power.
Paka barsa.
Back it up, back it up, back it up. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Back it up, back it up, back it up. Come on.
All right, everybody to the side, this one. I want to see everybody this way. Okay, here we go like this.
She told me to show her my power.
Turn around this way, go with me.
Back it up, back it up, back it up. Come on.
Back it up,
back it up.
All right, here we go this way. Everybody, let me see it this way. Everybody go there. Turn around. Turn around. Turn around. Turn around. Okay, shift side one more time. Turn around. Turn around. Turn around. Hold it there. Hold it this way. That way. Give it. All right, let me see it. Move forward a little. All right, here we go. Backward. 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 Forward. Backward. 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 Forward. Time. Backward. Backward. Everybody. Backward. Forward. Are you having a good time? Are you having a good time, Juba? All right, let me see both of your hands up. Both of your hands up. Here we go like this. Turn around. Turn around. Turn around. Give somebody a high five. High five. High five. High five. High five. All right, I'm gonna go crazy right now, but I want us to go this way first. This way. Hey, backward. 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 Forward. Backward. 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 Forward. Okay, I'm gonna go crazy. Let me see it. I'm going crazy now. Hold me this. belly, toes. Head, belly, toes. Everybody, head, 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 belly, 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 toes. One more time, I go. Head, head, belly, 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 toes. Everybody, thank you. I wanted to give the DJ right here, DJ Emmanuel, a big hand, everybody. DJ Emmanuel, give a big hand to Sarah right here. A big shout out to Canadian Embassy for making all of this happen, you know. Let me see both of your hands up, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel Jal and his support system, Sarah Atoj. A huge shout out to our background team, DJ E and Daniel. I don't know where he is. Shout out to you and thank you so much for supporting us. I'd like to thank everyone on behalf of the Embassy of Canada to South Sudan for being here today. Thank you for your presence. My name is Eva Lopa and I wish you a good night. Also, we have food and refreshments at the back over there, so if you can, go ahead and serve yourself. Drive safe and have a good night.